They hop, they jump. Some of them will stick to the window. Frogs, they come of various of shape, species, and also various of colors. Frogs is an animal that is amphibian that has very unique life cycle, and also people very fascinated about it. So you guys already saw that video, right? Most of the frogs has very moist skin. It's very cute, isn't it? So now we jump into the introduction. Before we want to go deeper about the mechanism and respiration of frog, we need to get know about frogs first. So do you guys know fun facts about frogs? Frogs are the animal that is an amphibian that can live in water and land. They have a unique respiratory system and also multiple breathing methods. They use cutaneous respiration and also pulmonary respiration for breathing.
To add on, frogs also use bronchopharyngeal respirations through the organ mouth lining. This occurs when the frog is on land and inactive.
The organ they use for breathing is lining of mouth, lungs, and also the surface of the skin. So next, we're gonna move to the stage of life of frogs. Frogs go through metamorphosis from eggs to tadpole and finally develop an adult frog. When at the tadpole phase, the frogs live in water and also they use their gills to breathe. Unlike us, a human, from we born until the end of our life, we use the same breathing technique. Amazing, right? Why is it matter we learn about frogs? Frogs can show adaptation to the environments. Frog is also can act as a bioindicator because frog is very sensitive to the pollution and also the change of the oxygens. Amazing, right?
So now, how do amphibians use both cutaneous respiration and pulmonary respiration? Cutaneous respiration happens when amphibians breathe using their skin. There are a few characteristics of their skin that makes it easier for them to breathe. For an example, they have really thin skin layer that is only a few cells thick. This makes it easier for the oxygen and carbon dioxide to diffuse across it. The shorter the distance for gases to travel, the faster diffusion happens. Next, they also have very moist skin. This is because oxygen must dissolve in water to pass into the blood. Mucus glands keep their skin wet, allowing efficient gas exchange on land and in water. Lastly, their skin have very high vascularization. This means that they have many blood vessels close to the surface, letting oxygen and carbon dioxide to enter and leave easily. Next is pulmonary respiration. It's when amphibians use lungs to breathe. Amphibians lack a diaphragm and ribcage muscles powerful enough to draw air into the lungs via negative pressure like humans. Instead, they use a positive pressure system called buccal pumping, meaning breathing with the cheek and mouth. First, they are lowered the mouth floor. The nostrils are open and the glottis is closed. The floor of the mouth drops, sucking fresh air into the buccal cavity. Next is expelling stale air. The glottis opens and muscles around the lungs contract slightly, forcing the stale air from the lungs out through the open nostrils. Next is transferring fresh air. The nostril closed and the floor of the mouth is raised. This forces the relatively fresh air that was held in the buccal cavity down through the open glottis and into the lungs. And the last step is closing the system. The glottis closes, trapping the fresh air in the lungs for gas exchange. The amphibian may then engage in rapid, shallow buccal oscillations to cycle air over the buccopharyngeal membranes, aiding in supplemental gas exchange while the lungs are closed.
For the next part, I will explain why moist skin is essential for gas exchange in frogs. Frogs are unique because they can breathe not only through their lungs but also through their skin. Their skin must stay moist for gas exchange to occur efficiently, which is very important for survival in aquatic and humid environments. Now, I will explain the main reasons why moist skin is necessary. I will go through 6 key points. First, let's look at cutaneous respiration. Frogs can absorb oxygen and release carbon dioxide directly through their skin. Moist skin keeps the epidermis permeable, allowing oxygen to enter the blood and carbon dioxide to exit efficiently. This process also supplements lung respiration, which is especially important when frogs are underwater or during hibernation. Next, we have oxygen solubility. The thin water layer on the skin allows oxygen to dissolve and diffuse into the blood. This ensures frogs get enough oxygen for metabolism even when their lungs are less active. Moist skin also helps maintain respiration in humid and aquatic environments. The third point is carbon dioxide removal. Moist skin allows carbon dioxide to leave the blood quickly, preventing toxic buildup. It supports continuous respiration during activity, helps maintain acid-base balance in the blood, and is particularly important in low oxygen conditions underwater. Fourth, we have thin epidermis. Frog skin is thin with minimal keratin. Moisture prevents drying and cracking, accelerates gas exchange, maintains skin flexibility for movement, and protects the capillaries near the surface for faster diffusion. Fifth, there is the dense capillary network. Frogs have many blood vessels close to the skin surface. Moisture maintains contact between blood and the environment, speeding up oxygen intake and carbon dioxide removal. The large surface area enhances survival in both aquatic and terrestrial habitats and supports higher metabolic demands during activity. Finally, we have environmental adaptation. Moist skin allows frogs to respire both underwater and on land. It supplements lung function when submerged, supports survival in low oxygen or dry periods, helps frogs remain active in varying habitats, and is essential during hibernation and breeding in water.
Now, I'm going to explain how the temperature affects the amphibian respiration. At high temperature, several things happen inside their body, which is when the temperature rises, their metabolic rate increases. This means they use more energy, so they require more oxygen. As a result, their respiration rate also increases to meet the higher oxygen demand. Enzymes inside their body also work faster at warmer temperature, which speed up their cellular respiration. But if the temperature becomes too high, those enzymes may start to denature, meaning they lose their shape and can't function properly. When this happens, respiration efficiently drops and the amphibians may struggle to survive. On the other hand, low temperature has the opposite effect. When the temperature drops, both enzyme activity and metabolism slow down. The amphibian bodies use less energy, so it requires less oxygen. This leads to a lower respiration rate. That's why the amphibians tend to become more sluggish or inactive in cold environment. They don't need as much oxygen because everything in their body is operating at a slower pace. Now, let's move to how water availability influences the amphibian respiration. Amphibians are very unique because most of their gas exchange happens through their skin. This means their skin must stay moist for oxygen and carbon dioxide to diffuse efficiently. So, when we talk about the water availability, we are actually talking about how well they can breathe. Firstly, amphibians depend strongly on moist skin. When their skin is moist, oxygen can easily move into their body while carbon dioxide moves out. This process happens smoothly because moisture helps the gases dissolve and pass through the skin. So, without moisture, their maintained method of breathing becomes less effective. Next, when water is abundant, amphibians are in their most comfortable condition. Their skin stay moist all the time, which allow efficient gas to exchange. In this situation, their respiration works normally and they don't need to rely too much on other organs. This supports their activity level, movement, and overall survival. However, during dry condition, the situation changes a lot. When water becomes limited, their skin begins to dry out. A dry surface makes it difficult for oxygen to diffuse through, so respiration becomes less efficient. Because of this, amphibians must depend more on their lungs or buccal cavity. That is the lining inside their mouth to get the oxygen they need. Dry condition can even make them less active because breathing becomes hard. In conclusion, amphibian respiration is strongly influenced by both water and temperature. They need moist skin for efficient gas exchange, so abundant water helps them to breathe well, while dry conditions limit the oxygen diffusion. Temperature also affects their respiration rate. At high temperature, it increases their metabolic demand, while lower temperature slows everything down. Overall, these two factors play a major role in determining how effectively amphibians can carry out the respiration.
Next, we are going to exploring critical question, which is how do environmental change, such as pollution, habitat loss, and climate change affect amphibian respiration. Amphibians are unique because they breathe not just with lungs, but crucially through their skin. This makes them extremely sensitive to change in their environment. First, let's look at water pollution. Toxins in water are easily absorbed by the amphibian permeable skin, causing direct damage. This damage leads to two major problems. First, amphibians struggle to breathe through their compromised skin. Second, this exposure causes serious health issues, including change to their skin bacteria and severe physical deformities. Next, consider habitat loss. The destruction of wetlands and forests deprive amphibians of the crucial moist environment they need. This loss forces them into exposed dry areas. Without moist habitat, they cannot breathe properly through their skin. The dry condition quickly affect their skin respiration, severely limiting their ability to take in oxygen. Finally, we face the silent killer, climate change. Amphibians are cool-blooded, meaning their body function, including breathing, depends on the external temperature. When it is too hot or too cool, their breathing is directly affected and less efficient. Furthermore, harsher, hotter climate accelerate the drying out their skin, creating a double threat that prevents effective gas exchange.
Hi everyone, my name is Hanani Alulanashra binti Mama Hussein, and today I'm going to explain to you the limitation of cutaneous respiration in larger amphibians and why they cannot rely on the skin breathing alone. So, for the first point, we have larger amphibians have less skin surface to compare to their body size. As their body grows bigger, the skin cannot increase enough to supply oxygen to the whole body. This limited skin area reduces the efficiency of gas exchange, which is very important for the survival. And now, for the second point, which is larger amphibians need more oxygen to support their metabolism. The skin breathing alone cannot provide enough oxygen for their higher energy needs, especially during activity like moving, hunting, or escaping predators. Therefore, they need additional respiratory methods like lungs or mouth breathing to meet their oxygen demand. Now we are on the third one, which is the process of gas exchange through the skin is relatively slow. Oxygen and carbon dioxide move gradually across the skin, and in larger amphibians, gases have to travel longer distance inside the body, and this makes cutaneous respiration is less efficient and slower to compare to the smaller amphibians. And for the fourth one, larger amphibians have thicker skin. While having thicker skin provides a protection and reduce water loss, it also creates a barrier for gases. which means oxygen cannot pass through easily and carbon dioxide removal is also reduced, which further limits the effectiveness of skin respiration. So, lastly, cutaneous respiration requires the skin to remain moist. Moist skin is necessary for oxygen to dissolve and diffuse into the body. However, larger amphibians have harder time to keep their skin wet all the time, especially during dry condition or when they are active. This dependence on environmental moisture further limits their ability to rely on skin breathing. And so, because of all these limitations, larger amphibians cannot depend only on cutaneous respiration. They must also use lungs or mouth breathing to get enough oxygen to their metabolic needs. And that's all from me. Thank you.